Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us across the fence. I'm Fran Stoddard. In January, the Vermont Agency of Agriculture announced that the number of dairy farms stands at 677. Each of these farms has a story to tell, a story about an innovative practice to protect natural resources, new technology that saves time and money, or a story of grit and determination in tough times. These are the stories we hear when we celebrate the Vermont Dairy Farm of the Year. It's a 73-year tradition with a rich history. To find out what the judges look for and how you can take part in the nominating process, let's hear from the chair of the selection committee, Tony Kitsos.
The history of the Vermont Dairy Farm of the Year Award is one that began in 1947, competition between Vermont's governor and New Hampshire's governor about whose farmers had the greenest pastures. And the gauntlet was thrown down at that point. Boasting began. Everybody kind of looked at their own farmers at home and said, hey, we gotta have a great contest here to see who's got the greenest pastures in New England. And that caught on to each New England state, so that now there are all the New England states select the Dairy Farm of the Year and New England Green Pastures Award winner. We all convene at the Big E and have a banquet recognizing the farmers there, and it's a great program.
Tony, who's eligible for this award?
Every dairy farmer in the state is eligible to win this award. Nominations come from the service providers, whether it be a lender, a milk cooperative, Organic Valley, Horizon, whoever it is, organic farmers, conventional farmers alike, everybody's eligible. We like to ensure that everybody, no matter how big or small or what style of dairy farming you choose to do, everybody's eligible for that. The winner is typically selected because they rise above everyone else who's been nominated. You have pretty good record-keeping systems. You have decent production. You want to keep going in dairy farming, and you're going to be a good ambassador for the industry going forward. Innovation is one big thing that we like to see because, of course, innovation means progress. Progress means we're going to be here in the long haul. Whatever investments get made on a dairy farm, from a progressive and innovative perspective, we know that that's going to be, carrying the industry through in years to come. I always wind up meeting people that I've never met before. I've been in the dairy industry working as a service provider, nutritionist for the past 30 years, and I'm amazed at the number of people that I still meet that are the highest quality dairy farmers that we have in this state. And I always look forward to the next group of farms that get nominated. And then, of course, it's the passion that they have for what it is that they do. They love what they're doing. They take the good with the bad. They understand that down years, you got to ride it out. And they also understand that in good years, they're ready to go make up for all those bad years in the backfill.
How does somebody get a nomination form?
So applications can be found on our website, at the Extension website. You can download an application there, or you can call directly at the St. Albans office, 524-6501, or get in touch with us via email, tony.kitsos@uvm.edu.
Thank you, Tony. We'll be announcing the winner of the 2020 Vermont Dairy Farm of the Year right here on Across the Fence in just a few months. As winter turns to spring, top of mind for all farmers is to make sure the nutrients in the soil stay there. Runoff from rain and melting snow can send valuable nutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus into waterways. It's in the best interest of a farmer not to watch their profits and their livelihood wash away. These concerns and others are the focus of our next story. Let's head downstream to the Connecticut River Valley to learn how farmers there are meeting state and federal regulations and keeping their businesses above water. Here's Keith Silva.
The Connecticut River runs 410 miles, which makes it New England's longest river. It courses through 4 states before emptying into Long Island Sound. The river's watershed is home to over 2 million people and some of the region's most productive farmland.
As you go up and down the valley, there's a lot of farming that's going on.
Carl Majewski is a dairy, livestock, and forage crop specialist with University of New Hampshire Extension. He's here at Cedar Mountain Farm in Heartland with researchers and agricultural service providers in New England to take part in an in-service training.
In order for farms to prosper, they've got to have good land to work with. The fields around here, They're more level, they're well drained, they're fertile. It's in a pretty good climate. You don't have to go too far. I mean, you can look out that way and you can see off into New Hampshire that it's not that far before it starts getting pretty steep and pretty rocky and a lot less conducive to farming. So, you know, there's good land over here, and so we want to take care of it.
Top of mind with everyone at this event are best management practices for protecting soil and improving water quality here in Vermont and hundreds of miles downriver.
If farms aren't careful, you can get nutrients leaving the field, getting into surface waters that makes its way into the river, that makes its way downstream. So if we can avoid that, then that's what we're working towards. You know, and it's in the farmer's own interest as well. I mean, farms, they pay good money for that nitrogen and all those other nutrients that they bring onto the farm. You don't want to just have them dribble away.
Animals we have at the moment, we have 58 cows, heifers, and steers. That's our combined number of animals.
Carrie Gawalt is the herdswoman and co-owner of Cedar Mountain Farm. In addition to dairy, they also raise vegetables and make cheese. She knows all too well about water quality and nutrient management concerns that affect farmers and the general public.
Just looking at the structure of our land, we have an incredibly gravelly soil. We have not a ton of cows on a, fairly small area, and many homes all the way around us. We really get worried about impacting people's drinking water. Even before it has a chance to get to the brook and go further, we just look at, we're surrounded, on everything that's not a hill. We are completely surrounded by homes.
Gawalt's neighbors are used to having cows graze within a few hundred feet of their homes. But this isn't the case for most people.
So I think there's been a big disconnect between farmers and a lot of the general public. So I think for people to realize that farmers are educated, they think about what they're doing. Nobody wants to have a dirty farm, and I think being able to just really communicate that farmers work really hard. Having, your farm fall into the river doesn't benefit anybody. That I think, farmers are working hard every day, but I'm not sure that message is always getting out there.
Gawalt and her fellow farmers on the Connecticut River have another challenge when it comes to perception and getting attention. Lake Champlain. Algae blooms from nutrient runoff have put a spotlight on the water quality of the lake, and for good reason. When farmers in the Connecticut River watershed compete with farmers in the Champlain Valley for state and national funding for on-farm projects to improve water quality, hard decisions have to be made.
It's important to remember there's water on this side of the state too. The water drains both ways. And one of the things you hear when you go to meetings is farmers over here say, wait a minute, nobody's paying attention on this side of the state to help with cost share for a lot of farms, especially who are directly on the river. They're looking for, being able to plant a buffer, being able to put in, a fence. That there's often are not a lot of resources because a lot of the perception is that the money is allocated to the other side of the state.
Gawalt worked with the National Resources Conservation Service, NRCS. She received funding for fencing, which reduced erosion, and constructed a bedded pack barn that composts manure when the cows are inside. Gawalt believes in being proactive.
Yeah, and for us, because we'd already been 10 years with working with NRCS, so when it came to the other water quality issues, we were prepared, which was good. We weren't caught off guard. We'd already set up a nutrient management plan. We'd already made the manure stacking pad. We'd already done all these projects with, more than half of it covered by, NRCS, and so they really helped us with stuff we couldn't have afforded to do. But if we hadn't started on all this 10 years ago, we did like $300,000 worth of improvements. So if you hadn't been paying attention or just not thinking about it at all, we've been really in a tough spot.
Farmers take pride in being stewards of the land. After all, their livelihoods and the lives of everyone else depends on protecting that land and preserving natural resources.
I think that the thing to keep in mind is that, I'd say all farmers care about their land. They care about their animals, they care about their community. For us, that the most precious thing on the farm, aside from water, is soil. So if the soil leaves our farm, and we're fairly flat here, but if it leaves the farm and washes away, we will never get that back. And thousands and thousands of years, it's gone. Trees everywhere.
For Majewski and the others at this training, Cedar Mountain Farm is proof these practices to protect soil and improve water quality work, no matter what side of the river you're on.
We've got a lot of talent on either side of the river, and anything that we can do to collaborate and work with those farms is going to be a win-win. In a lot of cases, I mean, the farms themselves kind of cross that river, that there are plenty of farms in New Hampshire that are working fields in Vermont, and there are plenty of farms based in Vermont that are farming in New Hampshire. So, you know, the things that we can do to kind of educate farmers together, it just makes sense.
The Connecticut River and the land that surrounds it has been here a long time, and it's in everyone's best interest, farmer and citizen alike, to keep it that way for a longer time to come. In Heartland, I'm Keith Silva with Across the Fence.
And that's our program for today. Thanks for joining us Across the Fence. I'm Fran Stoddard.